Hey everybody, welcome back to RedMug Music. Very glad you could be back with me today. Today I'm so excited to be covering what I consider my number one ranked album by Duran Duran, which is RIO. So today we're going to rediscover Duran Duran's classic album, and I do mean classic. So before I go on, if you haven't subscribed yet, or if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. I appreciate you watching the channel. The best way you can support this channel is just by subscribing and commenting down below. If you have any ideas or anything you can add to the conversation, that would be fantastic. I love reading the comments, and I got a lot of really good listeners and watchers that do comment all the time, and I just want to thank you for doing that. You're definitely part of this channel, and I do appreciate you doing that. But anyway, reviewing or rediscovering an album that you've heard so many times can be kind of rough. Also, knowing that everybody else has pretty much heard this album makes it a little bit more hard to talk about, because everybody knows it so well. But I wanted to definitely let you know, because I think maybe this has been an issue in the past, but I'm not exactly sure, because I may be hearing things that other people aren't hearing if you're listening to the record, or just however, the tape or whatever you have, or maybe the CD when it first came out on CD. But I wanted to let you know that I'm listening to and all music from Apple Music, which is going to be, remastered if possible. And this particular album was remastered in 2009. And it's in what Apple Music considers a lossless audio. So it's just a much better, higher quality sound. So I'm really hearing things that maybe the average ear is not hearing, just because I'm listening to a very good version of these songs. And also, I didn't know this. Apparently, whenever this came out in America, the versions were a little different. So what I'm used to hearing, because that's where I first heard this album, was on record back in whatever year, 1985 or whenever I got it, 1986. I was just listening to the vinyl. But I think what I listened to is going to be the original version, which has been remastered in 2009 by Apple Music. So I just wanted to share that, just in case I'm hearing something you aren't. Maybe that's why. All right, let's go through the album one song at a time, and let's talk about what we hear. And I got notes here that I put everything down on, because I don't want to forget what I thought when I first listened to it. First song, RIO. We all know RIO. That is a spectacular intro. I love that. Sounds like it's coming in backwards, but it's just a very artistic slant that just really gets your attention, and it's off to a really good start. But listening to RIO, I noticed what a perfect marriage. Every instrument, including Simon's voice, Duran Duran, it has going on, in this album. They just work, and I've talked about it before, and they work so well together. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And so, I really don't need to talk about RIO that much. We know how great it is. It's a very, very good song. Everybody knows RIO. As soon as it comes on, you know it. You're excited. It's a good song. So we'll go on to the next song, which is called My Own Way. This song is perfectly queued up by John Taylor's bass. I love the way it starts out. It's a true rock song. Until you get to the chorus, and then it gets a little bit more funky. You got that more strumming action from Andy, which I think sounds a lot like Nile Rodgers. So maybe Andy kind of created that sound for Duran Duran, and Nile Rodgers was able to capitalize on it. But it's his style anyway, Nile. But when Nile joined the band and helped him with the guitar, it was definitely a sound that was familiar to Duran Duran listeners. So I think that's what I thought of when I heard the song. But I love My Own Way. It's a really good song, very well done. And then song number 3 is Lonely in Your Nightmare. I like this transition into a more melodic track with you have John Taylor playing this fretless bass, which sounds amazing. But I think the arrangement, just the song in itself is a little bit more complex. It's not a complex song, but I just compare music to, back then to pop songs now, and how much more complex they were then than they are now. And it just makes me appreciate the fact that I was able to live through an era that its normal popular music was so complex. I just don't understand why Duran Duran was considered a boy band. If you had a band like this, if Duran Duran, like the debut album, were to release today, with this adjustment for today type of, instruments, I don't think a boy band would ever enter anyone's mind. And then RIO to follow up, and then Seven to follow up. I don't think that. I think Duran Duran would be considered like geniuses. Like it'd be like, my God, this is fantastic. It wouldn't be considered popular. It would just be a very complex type of music. And in the 80s, it's like, it's pop, it's a boy band. It'll come and go. Weird, just weird. Then track number 4 is going to be Hungry Like the Wolf. I would imagine a few of you heard of this song. It's actually probably one of the most recognized songs to ever be recorded, but it's just a fun song. It's super fun. It's fun to sing. And the hook, I noticed the hook is really that guitar, is Andy's guitar. That's the real sound of Hungry Like the Wolf, is that electric guitar. And I just think this song was, along with these other songs, were just well before their time. And I believe that they were just so much more complex and just amazing for the time that it came out. Been released, and I just wonder at what point in time in history would you be able to release an album like RIO and it just kind of falls in line with the rest of the music that's there, the complexity. I don't know when that would be, because I even have a video, and I'll put it up above here, about I was comparing RIO to Pornography by The Cure, which was another gigantic album from the same year. And everybody's like, it's, they're both English bands. And I feel like a lot of people that listen to The Cure listen to Duran Duran also. And that's why I compared them, because, out of everything that were released that year, I just thought they were the most comparable. But people were like, it's not even a contest. And I'm like, exactly. It's not a contest. You can't compare, RIO to really anything else that came out during that time. So very cool. Anyway, song number 5 is going to be Hold Back the Rain. Hold Back the Rain. I've always heard this as Hungry Like the Wolf Part 2. As soon as Hungry Like the Wolf goes off and this one starts, I just really feel like I'm hearing a lot of the similar sounds, and they're just similar to me, the two songs. But this is a very rock themed but very upbeat song. And I mean, really, the song Hold Back the Rain, it thrashes. This is a rock song. And if you've noticed, this is really an Andy and John Taylor album for the most part. I mean, they're kind of creating this backbone to the sound that you're hearing. So albums like this, and no, I don't want them to recreate RIO album after album after album, but I would like to know what Duran Duran would have sounded like if John Taylor and Andy would have just stayed in the band the whole entire time. Of course, Andy has barely been in the band, and John's only missed an album or two. I just wonder how it would have changed the whole landscape, or would Duran Duran have just not thrived whatsoever? Would they have just died? But I don't know. They didn't burn out because of the current lineup, that they had in 82, 83, 84. Duran Duran kind of fell apart because they came apart. And that was because, the decisions of Andy Taylor and John Taylor and Roger Taylor. I mean, it was their decision, and I think that's why it came apart. And, people like Warren came in very enthusiastically because it was such an opportunity. I mean, Missing Persons wasn't that well known of a band, at least it wasn't here in the United States. And nobody knew. I mean, I think maybe we know of one song or two songs by Missing Persons, so this was an opportunity for Warren. So he definitely if people think he was the glue that kind of held them together, I mean, it was an opportunity for him. I mean, why not? But I think, when I hear songs like Hold Back the Rain, I think about, like, this song could have been written and performed by any rock band out there, and it would have been completely believable. Like, it would have been just a pure, absolute, rock song. But it's done by Duran Duran, and people don't really see it that way. But people just hear it as pop. Duran Duran, I don't think people knew what to do with them. Okay, now on to side 2. If you were listening to the record, this is a completely different side than side 1. Side 1 was very rock themed, very up pace, very dancey. Just really good stuff. And really, if you go over these songs, RIO, My Own Way, Lonely in Your Nightmare, Hungry Like the Wolf, Hold Back the Rain, I really think most of those, or if not all, could have been released in some kind of way as a single. That's one reason why everybody likes this album so much, because all of the songs are basically singles. And then you get to side 2, and it starts out with a completely different feel and mood with New Religion. Now, even though this is more of the same that you're getting from side 1, that keyboard in the beginning gives it a different feel. But if you really listen to the song, it's just more rock themed kind of music, and it's just more of the same, but it feels different. Nick has more control over the song, but Simon's lyrics are absolutely top tier in New Religion. It's one of my favorite songs to sing by them. Actually, my favorite part of the song is Simon's vocals, and every time it comes on, I've got to listen to it all the way through, and I got to sing along, which I'm not that great of a singer, or not that good at all, but I sing with it. But I love the chorus, but the bridge is absolutely my favorite part. So New Religion, and of course, I heard it on Arena first, so I got that version first, and I really like that. But whenever I heard it on RIO, it didn't take away from it whatsoever. Then we have the next song called Last Chance on the Stairway. John Taylor's bass is just so enjoyable. He's so good. I mean, he was very, very early on. He was such a good bassist. I listened to the song sheerly just for the bass. I mean, I like the song altogether, but when I listen to the song, my ears go directly to John. And did you know that this, from what I see, this is the only song in the album that Nick is actually credited with singing backup vocals? I just thought that was weird. If you can find any kind of contradiction out there, comment down below and let me know. But from my source, this is the only one that I saw Nick having any kind of credit for backing vocals. Even though this is a very upbeat song, the keyboard, these long notes held, not the synthesizer part, this program. I'm just talking about the keyboard playing the chords. It gives it a more of a flowy sound, and it kind of gives it a little bit more of the ability to match up with the songs on this side, New Religion, Save a Prayer, and the Chauffeur. So the Last Chance is a little bit different. I mean, it's a little bit more like the front side, but I think it will be accepted okay on this side. Okay, song number 8, one of my favorites, absolute favorites, Save a Prayer. It's a lot of people's favorites. This is just a fantastic song. This, even though we kind of have a different feel on the side, this kind of changes the sound of the album again, almost entirely. And it adds so many new dimensions, and it makes you go, they don't just do dance upbeat stuff. They're talented. They have a lot of ability to create really good music, and I just hope people are seeing that. It starts with Nick's iconic keyboard, as we all know, and then Simon's very relaxed vocal with lyrics that he wrote while he was on the previous tour, for the previous album. And the feel of the song is partly from the verse being written in D minor, and then it changes in the chorus, and it moves from D minor to B minor. So that's partly why this song feels the way it does, because it's written in a minor key, and then it has a key change from the verse to the chorus. I love this stuff. But in my eyes, Save a Prayer is a masterpiece. It may be on the commercial side for Duran Duran because it was released, but I think it's a masterpiece of a song. The last song on the album is called The Chauffeur. You know, it could have ended with Save a Prayer. I mean, of course, I'd want another song thrown in somewhere to make it at least a 9-song album, but that would have been a good ending. And when I was listening to it, I'm like, okay, this is a very good end. And then The Chauffeur played. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, The Chauffeur. And I'm like, this is even better. I love The Chauffeur as the last song on this album. But it does continue the feel and the mood from Save a Prayer that Save a Prayer it started. Another very well written song. I mean, The Chauffeur is fantastic. And I love that delicate keyboard as it fades in. It's just so delicate. And Simon's lyrics is, again, it's a masterpiece. Like this, Simon's ability to write a song is so good. But the song is very patient. And if you don't know what I mean by patient, I'm just talking about, a lot of pop songs, they come in, they have like 3 chords, maybe 4 chords, sometimes 2, and they just kind of get to the point really fast, and they just, they're simple, and they just go simply by the hook and maybe a catchy chorus or whatever. And that's basically today's music. It's just very bubblegum, very, very just childish almost. But The Chauffeur is patient. It's the opposite of all that. It's patient and it's complex. It was actually written by Simon in Israel, along with other songs like Sound of Thunder, Night Boat, and I think Careless Memories. So you can see what kind of feel, this being in Israel. We need to send him back to Israel. He writes really good stuff in Israel. But The Chauffeur is absolutely one of my favorite songs. So, I say if you've seen my rediscover of Notorious, I say that Notorious is my favorite album. And even though I picked RIO to be the best album, and when I talk about RIO, I'm so conflicted because I want to keep saying that Notorious is my favorite album, and I really think it is because it's just a personal thing. It has nothing to do with it being a better album or whatever. I think RIO is a better album, but I think Notorious is more fun for me. It suits my ear a lot better, but RIO is a freaking good album. Every song on here could be a single. There's nothing weak here. There's no B-side material. And I just think RIO definitely needs to be considered, and definitely in a list of the best albums ever to be recorded, because Duran Duran, they're good musicians. Simon Le Bon is a very fantastic lyricist. He's a very good vocalist. And I just think this is a really good album. I don't see how you couldn't like it. You may be kind of tired of it, Hungry Like the Wolf, because I'm not going to just put Hungry Like the Wolf on and just listen to it. I'm just not going to, because I've heard it 5 zillion times. Same with RIO. Even though it's good, I won't reach for it because I've heard it so many times. But it's not going to take away from the fact that I know this is a fantastic effort by a band that created a masterpiece of an album, and I think we should see it as that. So anyway, to pretty much summarize, I think RIO starts out fantastic with RIO. The way it starts with the sound just kind of fading in, the backwards played sound, very, very John Lennon. And I think the transitions are very good. I think I like it's not typical for me to like an album split up into moods, side 1 and side 2, completely 2 different sounds. I'm usually not into that, but I am. I think it worked for RIO, and I think even though it was split into 2 different sides, 2 different sounds, 2 different types of moods, I think that they did a really good job. I wouldn't change anything on this album, absolutely nothing. And the last 2, it's almost like the first 2 songs kind of set the mood, and did its job into letting us know what we were getting into. But then the last two songs changed that mood, but in the way that it was completely acceptable, with the Chauffeur and Save a Prayer. The music quality was high, the lyric quality was high, musicianship was high. Just great. It's just really good. So that's it. I'm going to be quiet about it. Now you know how I feel about RIO. If you haven't listened to it in a while, listen to it and think of these things. Listen to the bass. The bass is a high point in this album. Nick's keyboards is definitely a staple. It has to happen. And I even hear, like, if you take the keyboards away, I hear the fact that you could just have a straight up rock album. I mean, you just could. This is a rock band that has other influences, but besides just rock music. So, like it or not, that's what they are. So I want to take just a few minutes to talk about my sponsor, Holly Carter, with the Magic for Less Travel. I know a lot of people are going back to Disney, a lot of people are going to Universal, and they're starting to cruise. We're cruising now. So if you're ready for that, I'll put her I'll put her information in the description down below, and you can check that out and decide if you would like to use Holly Carter as a travel agent. It's free to you. You can get a quote absolutely for free and find out what it takes for you to go on that next vacation. So check her out. Anyway, if you haven't done it yet, like I said, subscribe, share the video with whoever you think may enjoy this kind of video, and comment down below. Let's have a conversation. It's my favorite thing to do. But you can follow me on Twitter at RedMug Music. You can follow me on Instagram at RedMug Music. And if you need to email me, I'm at redmugmusic@gmail.com if you needed to do that for any reason whatsoever. But so that's it. That's it for my video. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I'll see you guys next time.